Francis Ngannou will be making his long-awaited MMA return this month, October 19th, against Renan Ferreira for the PFL Heavyweight Championship. It will have been nearly 2 years and 9 months since Francis Ngannou last faced off against Cyril Gane in the UFC. But who is this guy Renan Ferreira, and can he actually be the one that gives Francis Ngannou his first loss in over 6 years? Let's go ahead and take a deep dive into this fight and see how both men could implement their styles to win. Ferreira's last fight was against Ryan Bader back in February, where he absolutely starched this man in the very first exchange, just 21 seconds into this fight, and it was over. This was during the PFL versus Bellator champion card, so Ferreira's actually the PFL and Bellator champion if you actually think about it. And Francis Ngannou is still the lineal heavyweight champion of the UFC. It's not John Jones, guys, it's Francis Ngannou. He's still the baddest man on the planet until he loses. Ferreira is a behemoth of a man, standing at 6'8", and will be the largest opponent Francis Ngannou has faced in mixed martial arts. Francis faced Tyson Fury, who is 6'9", and Anthony Joshua, who is 6'6", but that was in boxing, so does it really count? And we still have to see where Ngannou's at after getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua. He was hurt bad. He was dropped 3 times before the knockout, which flatlined him completely. It was an awful, horrendous knockout. And we have to see how Francis Ngannou returns to the sport of mixed martial arts after flip-flopping from boxing. I mean, he was training for what, like a year and a half, 2 years, maybe more in just boxing. The shots that he was training to throw against Fury and AJ are going to be completely different. The stances are going to be different. And now he himself will have to worry about takedowns, leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks, elbows, a whole new facet of tools that could hurt him. But everyone knows about the Ford F-150 or whatever kind of power that Francis Ngannou possesses in both hands that can absolutely end the fight at any moment. He even dropped Fury with that left hook, that big old padded boxing glove, and that's something that we won't see on October 19th. Francis should look at his last fight against Cyril Gane, an elusive striker, and go to the takedowns to try and trap Renan Ferreira because of the long reach. Or at least just make him think about it, because Renan Ferreira has shown to be susceptible to takedowns and just ground control. Denis Goltsov got what I really want to say is a sloppy takedown against Ferreira. But I mean, it worked out for him. He was able to control Ferreira throughout the rest of the round, and Ferreira could not get up. He did not possess the ability to stand up on his own and had to be saved by the ref and the bell. Goltsov even went for a Kimura against Ferreira that didn't end up working, but someone like Francis Ngannou, from that otherworldly strength from digging in those Cameroonian sand mines his whole childhood, might be able to actually pull off a Kimura, and he showed to get a Kimura early into his UFC career. But I don't think Francis Ngannou is going to go to the wrestling, and I mean, why would he? He has dynamite in both his hands and he knows that, so let's just stand on the ground. All I'm saying though is that Ante Delija only needed 1 takedown against Ferreira to control him for the rest of the round and then ground and pound him into a TKO, which is the only KO loss of Ferreira's career actually. But like I said, I don't really see Francis Ngannou going for the takedowns unless the opportunity presents itself. That's enough talking about the grappling. Can Renan Ferreira's striking actually match Ngannou, and can he hurt him? Can he knock him out? It is heavyweight MMA striking, so it's going to look abysmal compared to the lower weight classes. But using that 85-inch reach, Ferreira really leans into some of those right hands, which are most of his knockouts coming off the right hand. If it's not that, it's off the clinch. Once the ref stood them up, Ferreira was able to throw that same right hand that he did in the first round, shown in the last clip, against Goltsov, and actually this is the shot that hurt him and led up to the knockout. And since Goltsov was hurt, he tried going for that takedown but was unsuccessful in it, so they ended up in the clinch, and off the clinch, this is where Ferreira would throw that big old right hand again, further wobbling Goltsov. But I don't know if he's going to be able to do this against Ngannou. I mean, Ngannou, he was throwing Tyson Fury around in the ring, and I get that it's boxing clinch, but Ngannou's a strong man. He could probably just throw Ferreira around like he did with Fury, and Ngannou's going to be able to throw the same shots back. It's going to be like a 50-50 in this situation for both of them. I mean, they're big heavyweights. Most of everyone's game plans against Francis Ngannou has been just to take him deeper into the fight and just wear on him. Try and make him tired and make him sloppy to find your shots against him. Apart from Anthony Joshua, that man was sitting down on his punches to try and hurt Francis Ngannou bad from the start. But since Francis Ngannou went 10 rounds with Tyson Fury and was actually pushing him back in those later rounds, the 8th, 9th, and 10th rounds, I don't know how everyone's going to be feeling about the prospect of just dragging this man into deep waters, you know? If Ferreira is dead set on trying to knock Ngannou out, then it has to be off the feints. He has to hope that these feints draws out the 2018 version of Ngannou where he just starts going ham. But Ngannou knows that he can't do this anymore. He knows that power alone won't win him the fight, and we saw that against Stipe in the second match, where he stayed calm and composed enough and just took his time, and that allowed him to find the knockout shot that finally put Stipe away. If the 2 good knees Ngannou that showed up against Stipe in the second match, I don't think that there's a man alive that could beat him. John Jones, Renan Ferreira, nobody, whoever. Maybe Tom Aspinall. I just think that Renan Ferreira just makes too many mistakes, and against Ngannou, mistakes are something that you cannot accept. He will end your life. And he makes too many mistakes in the grappling department, going for trips that aren't needed or leaving himself available for positions, and someone as strong, I mean, look at Ngannou. He will grab that arm and break it. He will rip it off. And speaking of Francis Ngannou's cardio, he might actually have more than Renan Ferreira. And if Ngannou actually goes to that wrestling, he can really wear on Ferreira really bad. I mean, look at right here, him getting pushed back. I will say this though, is that Ferreira has really good oblique kicks, and off of the oblique kicks, he will like to use his front kicks to either to the body or to the head. His front kicks will literally throw opponents across the octagon, so maybe if he does enough of that, spams it enough, Francis Ngannou can get tired, but I don't think so. Another thing that Renan Ferreira does really well is those leg kicks. His calf kicks will literally knock opponents off the floor, and doing this, he will minimize the explosive movements from Ngannou. And no disrespect, but heavyweight MMA is so lackluster, except for like 7 people maybe, and this is not even UFC heavyweights, which are already blobs. This is PFL heavyweight. I don't even know if they would be able to win on Dana White's Contender Series. Nah, I'm just kidding though. Renan Ferreira would actually be a really nice addition to the UFC's heavyweight division. I mean, look at Tai Tuivasa, that fool's ranked, and Renan Ferreira would definitely beat Tai Tuivasa. He's super duper athletic. Look at him doing backflips after knocking fools out like it's nothing. An underrated aspect of Renan Ferreira's fight game is his trash talk, even though he doesn't speak English. The man low-key does have some zingers at some points. But the first time that Renan Ferreira and Francis Ngannou squared off, Ferreira talked about Ngannou's dead son, and this visibly got Ngannou upset and emotional. So maybe he could be getting into Francis Ngannou's head, but the last thing you want is a mad Ngannou. You would want a mad Ngannou, but you don't really want that. I mean, look at the last guy that talked a little bit of trash. And it wasn't even like personal trash talking, it was competitive trash talking when Ngannou just absolutely starched Rosenstrike in the first exchange. It will be done in one if Ngannou tips that chin. It's only 4-ounce gloves. And even scarier, Ngannou recently went on Joe Rogan's podcast and said that he's not afraid to die anymore because when he dies, he's gonna go see his son. Like, that's some crazy stuff right there. This man is so scary. So we just have to wait until the actual day of the fight to see if any of these comments actually affected Francis Ngannou's game plan. In Francis Ngannou's corner, he's gonna have Dewey Cooper, who got him all the way to the UFC Championship belt, and Eric Nixick, who also did the same thing for Sean Strickland and Aljamain Sterling. And in Ferreira's corner is gonna be consisting of the Nogueira brothers, which, yeah, they're good fighters back then, but it's 2024, and are they really gonna hold up? He has trained down in Florida before at American Top Team, and I wonder if someone like JDS would want to corner him against Francis Ngannou, since Francis knocked him out. So with all that yapping out of the way, let's go ahead and tally up the 5 factors that are going to determine the outcome of this fight. First up is experience/skill. I think that these two terms are interchangeable, and I'm just going to say it right off the bat, it's going to go to Ngannou. He's been fighting world-class fighters for years. He fought Stipe twice, he boxed Tyson Fury, and we haven't really seen Renan Ferreira fight real world-class fighters except for Fabricio Verdum, and he lost. Well, it actually got turned over to a no contest. It's a confusing situation, but he did tap to him. And for coaching, like I said before, he has Eric Nixick. This man was able to game plan Sean Strickland to beat Israel Adesanya. You know how insane that was? And then Dewey Cooper as well. I mean, he brought him all the way up. So coaching is going to go to Ngannou also. And for cardio, I'm not really too sure where to place them either because we've seen both of these men very tired and we've seen Ngannou completely gassed. So I might even give the slight edge to Ferreira, but to be safe, I'm just going to put it at even, especially because they're 2 heavyweights and it probably won't even go past 2 rounds. Okay, so look, imagine you're the PFL heavyweight champion and you have the opportunity to fight the best heavyweight in the planet from the UFC. Wouldn't you put every ounce of effort in your being to pull off a spectacular performance and catapult your career into the stratosphere? That's why for mentality, I'm going to go ahead and write down Ferreira. I think that he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. And Francis Ngannou already has tens of millions of dollars in the bank after his little boxing adventure, so he doesn't really need MMA anymore. And it's not even like a John Jones opponent that would really excite him and solidify his legacy. It's Renan Ferreira. But from those boxing matches, the Tyson Fury one, not AJ, we got to see that Francis Ngannou really does have good fight IQ and can game plan decently well. And from the first fight against Stipe to the second, we got to see Ngannou make adjustments to deal with the defense and offense against Stipe to find the knockout. We saw his takedown defense, shot placement, and overall patience greatly improve against Stipe. Shonen mentioned before, Renan Ferreira just makes too many mistakes, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and pick Francis once again. I think that Ngannou's fight IQ is just way, leaps and bounds better than Renan Ferreira's. He just hasn't shown to be there yet. My official prediction for this fight will be Francis Ngannou. I think that he's an impossible mountain for anyone to conquer. But then again, bettors shouldn't be counting out someone as freakishly athletic as Renan Ferreira is, and I think the odds reflect that. I think that these odds are pretty understandable. This should be a great heavyweight fight, and I know that people said that Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis was going to be a banger, and it wasn't, but I really think that this one's going to be awesome, and I'm super excited for it, super pumped, and yeah, I think that Ngannou is going to get either a first or second round knockout, so let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any disagreements, and I'll catch y'all at the fights. Peace, and elbow the subscribe button, or head kick it, whatever you gotta do, just do it.